Good afternoon. I'm Dr. Tom Rivera, and I'm the Associate Dean, retired from Cal State San Bernardino. This afternoon is February the 14th. Happy Valentine's Day. And we are in the fourth floor of the Fowle Library. And this is part of the oral history project that we have for South Colton. And our guest this afternoon is Mr. Ernie Villanueva. Ernie, welcome. Welcome to our project, and thank you so much for being with us. And this afternoon, what I'd like to talk about is about your father, mainly about your father.
Thank you
because your father was a pioneer in the area of selling insurance to Mexicans in South Colton. Prior to that, there was no insurance that would help them bury their deceased. They relied on mutual aid societies such as Los Progresistas or Los Trabajadores Unidos. And then your father came in the 40s, in 1940s, and just introduced a service that was sorely needed in the community. Now, tell me about your dad. Where was he born and where was he raised?
He was born and raised in Los Angeles, off of Soto Street. He worked there in the factory for a while, and either the factory closed down or he got laid off. And he had an aunt living here in the Inland Empire that told him there was a lot of job opportunities here. So he moved in with his aunt, and he found work working in a tailor shop. Doing tailoring and also picking up the clothes and delivering the clothes after the work was done.
And Ernie, what year was that? Do you remember? Was that late 30s or so? Or?
Yeah, it was late 30s because he joined American National in 1940.
Okay.
So,
and prior to that, you said he was born and raised in Los Angeles. And his mom and dad, were they also born and raised in Los Angeles?
Yes, they were.
So they were also pioneer to the Southern California area.
Yes.
And you said your dad, looking for work. Oh, by the way, did he go to high school and did he graduate from high school?
He went to high school, but he didn't finish it his last year. He had to drop out to help with the family, financial needs.
Oh, so he was the oldest one in the family.
Yeah, he was the oldest, firstborn. In the Mexican tradition, the oldest one, they have to help out.
Oh, that's you're absolutely right. That was part of the culture.
Yes, it is.
If the family needed help, it was the oldest boy that had to go and get
out
out
there. If you're a male,
Yeah, and remember, I do remember that those of us that worked, that we came home with our check at the end of the week, and we have to give our check to our moms.
Exactly. That's what
Did your dad do the same thing?
My dad did the same thing. Yeah.
And then they would give us a little spending money.
Exactly. Yeah. My dad said the same story. Yeah.
And then he came to the Inland Empire, and you said to look for a job.
Yeah.
And he was working for a company and doing odd jobs, like one of them was tailoring.
Yeah, tailoring, and then he was also had to go and deliver the clothes after the tailoring was done, and then from there he would hit 2 or 3 homes on the same street asking, "Do you need any tailoring? You need clothes pressed?" He started already learning the sales job.
So the shop was in San Bernardino?
Yeah, it was on East Street.
On East Street? And
E or D Street,
And after the tailor shop got the clothing ready, your dad would deliver them to people that had that the clothing was made for.
Yes,
And while he was there, he didn't want to waste any time.
No,
so he went ahead and knocked on doors and said,
knocked on doors, and got more customers for the tailor. And ironically, supervisor for American National Insurance Company was across the street servicing American National clients, and saw my dad, how he was giving service to the present clients and how he was hitting the houses next door trying to conjure up some more business, and the supervisor told my dad, that's the very same technique that we use, service our present clients and try to open more additional homes. So the supervisor offered him a job, and at first my dad was kind of reluctant, and he says, no, like he says, I've never done that kind of work before. He says, you're
Okay.
already doing it, You're already procuring new additional clients as well as servicing the present clients. So he finally persuaded my dad to come in to the office, put in an application, and the application was accepted, and then supervisor set him up to take the state license exam. So he was handed a booklet, to study, and then he went in there and he passed the first time. He couldn't believe it, so he immediately got the job,
No, but when you said he passed right away, the first time they took the test, and then he got the job, what was his territory assignment?
It is that they gave him the different areas, is that, and he said, well, if you have a territory, of Mexican descent, I get along well with my own people.
Oh, so he wanted a territory specifically that
Yeah.
he felt comfortable with the people.
Yeah, and the people would be comfortable with him.
Okay, okay.
And the supervisor says, you know what, is that we have one for you. It's a South Cold, East and West. We've had other people work there, but they were unsuccessful. Is that, and we do have a base of clients there, but of course we wanted to open up new homes and develop there. So it was like a route, like a mailman. You got the homes, you go there, you pick up the premiums, or in those days they were like 10 cents a week, 15 cents a week, 25 cents a week, but you pick it up in five payments at a time, and then you deliver the policies, you handle any death claims, is that you handle any paperwork. The agent would come and do all the paperwork at the home. The customers wouldn't have to go to the office.
Let me ask you, you mentioned that there had been previous salesmen that were assigned to the South Colton territory,
Yeah.
all Mexican territory, and they were not very successful.
No, some were also of Mexican descent. Some were of non-Mexican descent. But the difference was they didn't have the work ethic, the call to duty of being the service to the customers, and the need to take care of the customers as your family. That's what my dad taught me when I thereafter entered the insurance business, is that your clients are clients, but they're family first. You take care of their needs, and they will take care of you. So you treat them not as accounts, but as family under you. So that's why my father, when he would go and service the accounts, there would be times, is that when the family, the refrigerator broke down, and they just had a baby girl, and it's that the husband was beside himself. I said, I need a refrigerator, but I can't afford to buy a new one. And then my dad says, you know what, I have another client that is selling a used refrigerator at a real reasonable price. And then the client said, but Johnny, I really can't afford, not even, $40 or 30. He says, don't you worry about it. I'll pay for it, and you can pay me when you can, or you can pay me when you get a raise or whatever. Don't worry about it, okay? You take care of your family. Now, is that he got another client who had a truck. They went and picked up the refrigerator. They brought it to the young couple. And is that and he took them to the market, got them some groceries, and he said, "Oh, Johnny, thank you very much." So is that thereafter is that when that family, cousins, friends had a baby, got a raise, or is that they thought about buying insurance? Let's call him Mr. Gonzalez. He says, you gotta call Johnny. He is not only will be a good insurance man, but he'll be your friend. He'll be there always for and that's how his reputation began to grow. this was a man, who was conscientious, who was kind to his customers, and who gave good service, as an insurance salesman, and also as a person and as a friend.
So he's a trusted person.
As a trusted person, so he learned to get the trust of the community, and after I graduated from college and entered the business, he says, you take care of your customers as your clients, is that they will give you back all the caring that you give back to them. That's what family does.
Mhm.
Because he viewed it not only as his professional job, but he viewed the customers as an extended family. And that's where the people opened up their hearts and decided that Johnny was the man that they could trust with their financial needs, and coverage. And that's what Johnny said, policy will cover you for these needs, this last expense. They knew he could be trusted.
Well, Ernie, I was going to ask you, going into Mexican-American community where they've had negative experiences with people outside their community, and, especially a company
Mhm.
that they know nothing about,
Yeah.
I was going to ask you, how did he make inroads with the community to develop a sense of trust and a sense of being able to develop that credibility? And you mentioned it, that he
Yeah, well-
treated everybody
Yeah.
as family, and I would imagine the golden rule applies here.
Yeah,
That you treat people the way you want them to treat you.
And the way he did it was, and this is what he taught me when I entered the insurance business. It was about the work ethic. He says, when you ask them if we can come into their home to take care of their financial needs for last expense, for mortgage, is that they're looking at the person, okay? If they can rely upon you, is that the company, it is the person. And if they decide to buy insurance from you, it's because they believe that they can trust you. So is that my dad, he was a gentleman, his salesmanship came from his caring about the people, and because of his thorough knowledge of the product. Okay, you combine those two together, and people knew that they were talking to a conscientious individual, who's a straight arrow.
Mhm.
And so he got the trust to be developed in them, and then he provided excellent service. He immediately delivered the policy. He was always there on time, according to their payday. They would ask him what payday would be good. Some would get paid every week, every 2 weeks.
So that he would be very accommodating
You
to their.
hit it right on the nose, because sometimes if they didn't have the full payment, he says, I tell you what, Jimmy, he says, just give me half of what you can afford. I'll throw in the other half, okay? And then the next payday or the next two paydays, you can reimburse me.
But, Ernie,
And you weren't supposed to do that.
but
But
again, it's
but he-
helping your fellow
the
neighbor.
clients, your
your
neighbors, and he cared more about the clients than following the rules, because he says, and he used to explain this to me. He says, won't you feel bad that if you took protection away and then something happens to that husband or to the daughter or the wife, and they had no protection, just because you wouldn't help them out? That's where your conscientiousness is continued good service, will come from you, and give them that protection. So if something happens, it's that American National can send them a check, and the people will appreciate that you helped them, and
Well, you know what?
and in turn that they will help you by
Well-
recommending you. And that's how he builds up his base.
Well, you know, Ernie, and talking about payments, you know, the economic structure of South Colton was we had railroad workers,
Yeah.
we have cement plant workers,
Mhm.
we had orange pickers,
Yeah,
and we have people that work for agriculture.
they're very low income.
Very low income, but yet everybody was working.
Mhm.
And then on that, we had some businesses that were established in South Colton.
Mhm.
And then getting to the insurance payment, you know, again, a strange company come into the neighborhood and they guarantee you that they're going to provide the best coverage for you in case something happens to you. And how much are payments? And the payments, as you said, were almost minimal, weren't they?
Yes, and another thing, that was my dad's philosophy, is that you only recommend the plan that was affordable to the customers. You know, is that if they can only afford maybe the 10 cents a week plan, not the 25 cents a week plan, then you said, let's begin with the 10 cents, we'll start with there. And later on, when things get better, we can go to a higher plan and add on to it. Not cancel the old one, just add on to it. He was always very conscientious and thoughtful of providing a program
That people could afford.
That people could afford. Because he would tell me, he said, look, son, the best plan is the one that they would have in effect when something happens, you know. It's no good that you try to give them a deluxe plan if they won't be able to keep it or afford it, you know. So when the time hand, at least they have some protection that will help them out and taking care of the last expense, you know.
Well, what I
But he
remember.
had all this personal philosophy,
Yeah.
you know, that went into the professionalism, you know, of an insurance man. But it came from his heart, his soul, you know, and all of his friends, and eventually the South Polk community, they all became his family. He was at every funeral, he was at every wedding, he was at every baptism, you know, constantly we were having to get dressed up and go to some family, you know, barbecue or whatever, you know, because he said they would always invite him, you know, and he would always say, well, what can I bring? What can I bring? To?
Well, you know what, as a little kid in the 1940s, I remember your dad coming to our house, and I think my brother and I had a 10 cents insurance each.
Okay.
And mom and dad had a quarter insurance
Mhm.
each.
Yeah.
And you're absolutely right. There were months when even the 70 cents couldn't be afforded by my parents.
That's right.
And your dad would say, "Well, don't worry about
Yeah,
it. You
yeah.
catch up to me next month when you're
Yeah,
working."
he would cover them.
Uh-huh.
He would cover them, you know. And then later on, is that when he trained Bob Pettis, Richard Rivas, you know, El Ochoa, he would teach them the same philosophy. Is that the customers are your family. Is that you need to be there for them personally
Uh-huh.
as well as professionally, you know.
And then you mentioned that he maintained his business and his credibility by doing things that other people wouldn't do. For
No.
example, if somebody had a baby and they went home, he would be at their home greeting them
Mhm.
with some type of gift for the baby.
Yeah, a baby book, and then he would also buy these little banks, you know, where you start putting 10 cents, you know, in there for the baby. Is that later on little rectangular safe deposit box? You buy calendars, little paper doll cutouts for the girls, and sharpeners, and some other toys for the boys, you know. He was always giving stuff out, you know, and a lot of the other agents didn't do that.
Uh-huh.
But he bought it, and that wasn't supplied by the company. He bought it out of his own vault.
Uh-huh.
you know.
Uh-huh.
And
And-
it was like you have to give back to the community as the community has given to you.
And, you know, South Colton was 1.3 square miles big, so it wasn't a big community. Maybe had 3,000, 4,000 people. And what was the number of clients that your dad had in South Colton? Do you know?
No, I don't, because that was a long time ago, and it would always go by premium, and at the beginning of the 1940s and 50s, I don't know what the size of the premium of the route was, but it was small, and of course my dad retired. He had a big route, because he had built up all that business, and then subsequently bigger policies came into existence, on there too. So the premiums were bigger, but again, you could get them for $10, 15, 18, $20, and so on. After the more newer type came up.
Well, the mutual aid societies would help their clients bury them and pay for part of the expenses. And then your dad comes in with American Life Insurance, and they would also cover burial services. And I would imagine that people were very happy that they had bought the insurance.
Yes,
Because, like you said, your dad was always on top of payments, or he would subsidize their payments.
Exactly, yeah.
Or
So
he
they
was always
all-
on top of the
Yeah.
paperwork.
So the point was they always had coverage.
Mhm.
The family was protected, in case of a unforeseen, need or death or so forth.
Yeah.
Because the main thing is give them protection, and the main thing is that go service your client. When I was a rookie and I was hesitant, there was a couple that just got married, and a year later that they had a baby, and I had the parents insured, because my dad gave me the east section, and he just kept the west section. We'll get more. And he said, Ernie, you're a good insurance man. You care for the people like the way I do, right? He said, now, why are you hesitating? Well, I don't know. I might not have the plan for them that's right. They've already talked to Western, Southern, and New York Life. He said, Ernie, if you don't go, and you're the best insurance man for them, because you'll care for them, you're taking care of them. What if they go with this other company, and the agent is disreputable, unprofessional, doesn't take care of them, or gives them a plan that's not suited to their financial needs, and then they buy it and then they drop it? Won't you feel bad? What if they drop it, and what if something happens to the husband or the wife? So then he gave me the calling. Is that if you will take care of them, is that they'll have a good insurance man who will provide for them, take care of their needs, and take care of them, not only as their agent, but personally. Is that when I was an agent, and later on a supervisor, I had people call me at my home, and my dad and I always give our home number. Ernie, my car broke down. Is that, can you come pick me up? And I said, sure. This was on a Sunday, and I said, sure. Where are you? And so I go pick him up, and then is that I had the car towed to his house. Is that and then I said, now and you need a ride home? I mean, do you need a ride to work? He says, yeah, I do. I said, okay, because Mondays, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, I only had to go to the office in the morning, but I could get excused if I had to. So I took the fellow to work, and I picked him up, just to help him out,
Well, again, this was developing that sense of trust and credibility, and that they could count on you to deliver not only your services, but also personal help when needed. Now, tell me, your dad sold insurance in Colton. Again, he was one of the pioneers that provided those services for people. He sold insurance in 1940.
That's when he started with the company in 1940, and it was with South Colton.
So it was through all the years, 41, 42, all the way, and what about the 50s? Was he also?
He was also there. He spent his entire life servicing South Colton.
How many years was that?
That was 40 years.
40 years?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, he
Serving
worked
some-
40 years, at the end of 40 years, then he retired to retire.
Mhm.
And it was strictly South Colton, so subsequently, they added on the north end of Rancho area.
Okay.
Yeah.
What about, it seems that like he had the whole South Colton territory tied up.
He did, he did, yeah. New York Life and Western Southern tried to take away the accounts, and they said, "What company are you with?" "Oh, I don't know, I'm just with Johnny Villanueva." He said, "Well, what's the name of the company?" "I don't know, I'm just with Johnny Villanueva." You know, he's the one that picks up my payments, he delivers the policies, if I need to borrow money on the policy, subsequently you could do that in the future policies. He says, but sometimes they wouldn't even remember it, American National, they just.
It was
it's
Johnny's Insurance.
Yeah, yeah, so, they said, oh, because one time I ran into him, I said, "Boy, you guys are hard to beat, is that, you guys are really close to your clients." I said, "Well, that's what it is. It's personal service as well as professional." And I was telling these Western and Southern New York Life, and I learned it all from Johnny, my father.
Uh-huh. So he retired in the 80s then?
Yeah, he retired in the 80s, yeah.
Uh-huh.
He worked a straight 40 years.
And did the company have any type of recognition for him?
Oh, yeah, is that if you would get 2 points for every policy you sold, and if you acquired 2,000 points, every year they offered a free trip called the conventions game. That was where you would attend some meetings, but the rest of the time they gave you breakfast, lunch, and dinner banquet and tours like that. So my dad, he went to Switzerland, he went to Germany, he went to Hong Kong, he went to Hawaii, and with the wife, and then they would offer prizes every quarter.
What about a recognition retirement dinner or anything like that?
Yes, it's that we gave him, in fact, I was chairman of it, we gave him a big retirement party, that a lot of people in the company came, and also I exhibited flyers in South Colton and North Colton, and a lot of his clients also attended. We had it there at the patio behind the Meatless Cafe.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah,
On
that-
6th Street. 6th and
Yeah,
Melbourne.
yeah.
6th and Melbourne.
They have a patio, a banquet area, whatever.
Yeah, but the company, I'm referring to American National. Did
Yeah.
American National do anything for him?
Yeah, they gave him a banquet, but we organized it, but they gave it to him.
Okay.
And a plaque, and of course, he did receive several trophies and several awards. A 1960, 61 and 59, he was the 5th, 8th, and 11th leading salesman in the United States.
Oh, he was up there.
Yeah, he was up there.
Up there with the company.
Yeah, yeah, 'cause they only recognize the top 15 agents,
Uh-huh.
and then the top 10 supervisors, top 5 managers.
Well,
So he received numerous plaques and numerous trophies.
Well, your dad being a pioneer in this area of work, profession, and being there in Colton for 40 years, he also wanted to not only help people with insurance
Financial protection, yeah.
issues, but he also wanted kids, young men from South Colton, to participate and also go into the same profession that he
Yes,
did.
yes.
Now, how did he recruit, or how did he identify young men from South Colton to be with him as salesmen?
Because a lot of these kids, it's like he knew them as children. He saw them grow up, and so he knew the parents, and he knew the family environment, which was good. Take Richard Rivas, for example.
Yeah, let's take Richard Rivas.
Is that he was from South Colton, is that, and I remember as a little boy, he would take me on the route and go in the house. Is that, and he saw Richard growing up as a child, and then as a young man, and he knew Richard had a fine character. He was honest. He was a good, moral, religious man, and it's all about character, So at that time, Richard was a mechanic, and my dad went to talk to him, and one evening, close to dinner time, Richard came to the house, and my dad, that's how Richard told me, I could serve people and help people. Is that, nobody talked to me like that before. Is that the work, not only making money, not only have a good job, but I'd be doing something good for the people, you know? So is that, that's how Johnny convinced me to enter the insurance company. But I was a little hesitant because I never did that kind of work.
Right, it's not traditional.
No,
It's non-traditional.
And my dad says, Richard, don't worry about it. I'm gonna train you on the side. You have a regular supervisor, but I'm gonna train you.
And what kind of techniques did he use to train Richard?
Is that he would have him come over to the house, okay, or they would meet for lunch, and you know, and then he would teach him how to fill out the application. Is that he would say, okay, in this circumstance, if this happens, you know, this is what you do with customers. If they ask these questions, this is how you need to explain it to them, you know. So it was on a weekly basis, you know, and then subsequently with other Bob Pettis, who was also South
Oh,
Coast.
Bob Bettis.
Yeah.
How did he identify? I guess, did Bob meet the same standards that
Richard did.
your dad was looking for?
Exactly. Character, you know, honesty, religious, a good work ethic, you know. Richard, Bob, Alachoa, you could count on them being out there because we're a couple of days in the office, only for half a day. And then the other days in the field, we're expected to get up in the morning, get our suit on, you know, have breakfast, and start serving the clients. You know, is that for as long as it took. You know, sometimes we start there at 7, 8, or 9, and lots of times if the clients, they get home till 8 or 9, you know, and we need to pick up the premium or we need to deliver the policy, we had to be there at 9 o'clock at night because our schedule was according to the client schedule. You know, is that we couldn't have the clients, you know, rearrange their schedule just to fit ours, but we're there to service them, you know.
And were these recruits that you mentioned, Richard, Bob, and Alfred, were they successful?
They were very successful. El Cho became a very top successful agent. Richard Rivas became a manager of an office. Okay? Bob Pettis became a manager of an office. And they were very successful. And of course, constantly they would ask my dad if he wanted to go into management. And my dad said, no, I'd rather stay as an agent, you know. But he helped develop the careers of other agents, you know, and put them on the right path to management, you know, if they aspired to it. And they did. And Bob Pettis and Richard Rivas were also national leaders as managers, you know, and as supervisors too, you know, because it was agent, supervisor, then manager.
I was going to ask you, were they also successful, and what benefits did they get from the company?
Oh, they got a very lucrative pension plan, health plan, you know, is that, and they got bonuses, you know, you get quarterly bonuses on it too, but plus they would also win those convention free trips, you know, to, first, when I first started, it was just within the United States, but then afterwards, they started having it in Europe. You know.
So you took those poor kids from Mexicans from South Colton,
yeah,
and made them international.
Right, and opened a whole new world to them, you know, is that they never would have had a chance to be exposed to, or never had a chance to really develop their abilities until a man named Johnny Villanueva came, you know, into the community and like a prophet that says, you know what, is that the American National needs good young men like yourself to help your community, you know, and that's how he got in.
Yeah.
You know, so is that we would continuously meet my dad for little seminars here and there, you know, to.
So was he still continue to be a coach?
Yeah.
Even throughout all those years?
All those years, yeah. And there was others that came in to the office that he didn't bring in, but when he saw them struggling, if he says, no, he's worth saving, so he would say, son, come on over here, let me show you a few things, you know, and he helped them, you know, get on the right path and become a decent, successful agent, you know. Because, you know, it's got to come from the heart,
Mhm.
you know, that you want to do the work for the people, you know, and then that you want to do a fine job for the people and the company.
And
The heart.
you mentioned that, that your dad also was a Marine.
Yes, he was in the 3rd Division, U.S. Marines, you know, and it is a, he was set up either to go in Iwo Jima or Guadalcanal. And like he told me later, is that at that time, the first wave, they're killing them like flies, and he was going to be set in on the second wave, you know. And at that time, once you have 2 children, you got sent home. So I was already born February 4th, 1944, and then when my sister was born in 1945, then my mother notified the War Department, and my dad was brought home. Or else he says, son, I might not have made it through the second wave. You know? But he was Jima or Guadalcanal, one of those two.
And your dad, I worked at the gas station, you know, at 5862, Henry's gas station.
Yeah, I remember.
And your dad was a very good friend of Henry Portillo.
They were best friends,
and, Henry ran the gas station,
Yeah.
and your dad would be there, and he and Henry would spend hours just visiting,
Yeah.
and they liked the Dodgers.
Oh, yeah.
They loved the Dodgers, so they would sit around the radio and listen to the Dodgers.
Mhm.
And then your dad would say, I have to go visit a client.
Yeah,
I have to go
yeah.
visit a client.
Yeah, sometimes there was a break, you know.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, because sometimes you would see customers continuously, you know, because they were home or day off or whatever. But other times they were on swing, you know, or some of the clients wouldn't get home till after 3 or 4, you know. And so sometimes you have an hour break, or an hour and a half, or so you hang out with Henry until it's 4:30.
Yeah.
Okay, Mr. Gonzalez, Mr. Hernandez is home. I gotta go see him.
Right, I remember that.
Mhm.
I remember those meetings.
Yeah.
The other is, I would imagine that he was not only encouraging to the people that he brought into the company, but I would imagine he was also encouraging to the other little kids in the families.
Oh, yeah.
You know, in terms of the attaboys, and continue doing well,
Mhm.
and keep on studying and doing your homework.
Yes.
I would imagine that he did that too.
Yeah, he was always, and it was never Mr. Villanueva. It was Johnny, hey Johnny, Mom, Johnny's here. Hi Johnny, how's it going? You know. I say, hey Lupe, hi Joe, how's it going? You know, how's school? Doing your homework? Yeah, he was that kind of a person.
Uh-huh.
You know,
Do you miss him?
I miss him a lot. He died September 16th, 1991. I think I stayed with the company 10, 18 years more. And then after that, I retired early because I wanted to explore different worlds. You know, and then I went to work for the county for a while, and then after that, I went to work for Home Depot. You know, and then at 66, I fully retired.
Uh-huh.
But you know, I
What year did you retire?
it is 2009.
Oh,
You know, I retired early from American National.
when did you retire from American National?
God, I can't remember the dates. Let's see. My dad died in 91, so I think I worked 18 more years. That's why Dad died. 8, 9.
Almost 2000?
Yeah, almost around there. You know.
Yeah,
You know,
okay.
and so my heart just wasn't in it anymore. You know, so I took early retirement, and then I just wanted to try something else. You know, so after that I got a job as an interpreter at the Home Depot. I mean, as a county.
Yeah.
And then when they laid off interpreters, and I got a job in the appliance department again as a salesman at the Home Depot. And in 2009, when I became 66, and then I fully retired.
So your dad taught you well?
Mm.
Your dad taught you well?
He taught me well, yeah. He was also my trainer, my supervisor, my mentor, you know, and we'd be talking, you know, insurance as soon as I got home, or he got home, and my mother was making dinner, and she says, you guys go out the patio, talk. You know, it makes too much noise. Yeah, I do.
Now, the guys that your dad mentored and got them into the business, do you see them often? And
I do see Bob Perez continuously. Is that we get together with my other compa, Richard Becerra, for barbecues. You know, Bob lived in Colton on Linton Street, but then he after he retired, he moved to Beaumont or Banning. I think it was Beaumont. Yeah. And then Richard Rivas stayed around for a while. But then he eventually moved to Arizona. And then he subsequently passed away.
Mhm. But do they remember your dad? Like, I remember your dad.
Yeah.
They do.
Yeah, constantly. You know, is that in fact, you know, Richard Rivas would just come to visit, you know, my mom and dad, you know, just out of the blue, you know, and then every time Bob had a barbecue, he'd invite my mother and father, you know, and they never forgot him. You know, how can you forget your second father?
Well, you know, when I saw you a few days ago, it dawned on me that your father, again, I'm using the word pioneer, was a pioneer.
That's what the company called him, ironically. They called him a pioneer, and they did a video testimony of the 4 pioneers here in Southern California. You know, it's that, and of course my dad was part of that video as a pioneer of the company.
Well, that's the way I saw the view, because nobody else had done or provided the services
Yes,
that your dad provided from an outside agency, a
Yeah.
gringo agency. And he was the only one that came in
Yeah.
and looked at the challenge and said, I can do that.
Yeah.
These are my people.
Exactly.
They're
Yeah.
gonna treat me right, and I'm gonna treat them right.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I'm gonna make sure if they do need those benefits, that I'll be there
Yeah.
with the paperwork completed and with check in hand, so they can continue their lives and would
Exactly,
not
yeah.
have that debt hanging over them.
That was his philosophy. You know, he came from the heart and of his good character and the need to help people, and he wanted to help the people because the clients were his friends, you know, and family. You know.
And you still live in Colton?
Yeah, I had lived a long time in San Bernardino, but I recently moved back into Colton.
Uh-huh.
February 1st of Lester.
Well, us Colton guys never leave.
Yeah, that's true. Our heart's always in Colton.
Ernie, thank you so much for being with us this afternoon.
You know, thank you for having me, and thanks for sharing the reminiscences of my beloved father, the good times and the wonderful times. You know, is that he was God's a gift to all of us.
He was, and especially for not only the community, but for the young people that he helped mentor,
Yeah.
and they went on to do great things,
Mhm.
great things themselves.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you for having me.